have a problem. It's whenever I say, I have two thoughts, unless I write the second one down, it's lost, you know. I'm at that age. There's lots of different names: urban planning, regional planning, master planning, site planning. Environmental issues and such, creating policy for that, and then working towards implementing that policy.
I first met Arlan Colton back in 1991. Arlan was working for the State Land Department, and we looked at developing a major sustainable village on the outskirts of Tucson. It's now called Savano.
I have interests in the urban part. I live in the city, and I have interests in state policy. I have interests in the kind of world around us. So it morphs and changes.
You know, Arlan had an established career prior to joining Pima County, and in fact had spent time with Pima County back in the early 80s and mid 80s. He was part of the planning division and worked on a variety of projects during a period of time in Pima County.
It was Frank Bangs in my office who introduced us, and when he came over to the county, we started really working very closely together on land use issues. He's always been a creative problem solver.
When we hired you, I think I made a call from California. I was even on vacation when I called you to try and get you to come to work for Pima County, and at that time you had a full set of hair, and so head of hair, excuse me. And so now look what we've done to you over the years.
I first met Arlan Colton in 1994 in Florence in the springtime. It was a beautiful, beautiful place, a beautiful time. It was very special. He was in cell block D, and I really got to know him. Just kidding. Just kidding.
There's been some reference to Arlan being confined in some institution, and I think some people call it a jail, some don't. But I think that his tenure with the Arizona State Land Department could very well qualify as being in jail because it's one of those things where you're captive and you don't know what the rules are and you don't know how to get out of it.
Superior talent of humor and sense of humor and comedy has been one of his strong points in terms of disarming people's feelings, in terms of working together. And so I think that he produces very effective working relationships because he quite often finds the funny spot in situations and helps us laugh.
He's one to not take himself too seriously, not take the issues too seriously, and not to mean that they're not important to him. They absolutely are, but to recognize that some levity in a situation goes a long way.
Arlan, congratulations on your retirement. You've done a lot of great things at Pima County, some of them famous and some of them infamous. I can remember one particular public hearing where they drew caricatures of the wall on the wall of you and put up posters that looked amazingly like Bozo the Clown. So I don't know if that had anything to do with your primary authorship of the Buffer Overlay Zone Ordinance, but probably did.
I happen to work in a planning office in a major metropolitan area, but I work mostly in the suburban and rural part of that arena. I started my career in the county back in the late 70s and worked here for about 10 years. During that period of time, most of the land use activity, the growth, was in the unincorporated county.
He was able to make an instant connection with the staff that was there within development services, and many of these people were seasoned professionals in the planning industry and had knowledge of Arlan through his prior activities throughout the community at the State Land Department, and also as part of the effort to frame out and get adopted the Growing Smarter legislation that really is the precursor for how municipalities and jurisdictions plan their lands and promote their land planning activities.
Arlan and I sat next to each other or near each other during a presentation that was done by Southern Arizona Leadership Council to bring forward the idea of something like Envision Utah, which was bringing all the different aspects of the community together and really think about how we want to grow. In typical Arlan format, one of the last questions that was asked at that session, and I believe he was partly responsible for the question, was what entity in Tucson, in the region, what person could bring something like that forward? With that little twinkle in his eye, he said, you know, I think it would take somebody like you to move something like that forward. And so he and I together kind of helped to get Imagine Greater Tucson formed and moving forward.
Which then fit nicely into the comprehensive planning update for Pima County that was known as Pima Prospers. It was really a blueprint for how Pima County can prosper going forward, and took into account the land use aspects, but also the other aspects of a community, you know, its people, their health, the services that are provided to them. It was looking in a much broader perspective at how the community can grow and should grow, the direction it should head over the period of the upcoming decades.
I think back to all of those trips across the state when we were on the Growing Smarter tour, and all of the people who you spoke with and helped them make better decisions. The episodes that we had with people misunderstanding what we were trying to do, and the way that you were able to navigate through so many difficult situations and teach the rest of us how to do that too.
I mean, we would sit at tables with a lot of other people. Of course, most people sat in the chairs. We sat on the tables, you know, crawled over the maps. We just really always wanted to be, you know, get our points across, and Arlan is just a real communicator. So it's been, and over the years, you know, we work that closely with the planning department and certainly the director. You get to be friends.
We work in the development side of the house, new development, potentially redevelopment, but we also work with our friends in the Office of Sustainability and Conservation on the conservation side of the house. So while we've been primarily land use planners, we've expanded upon that because, frankly, we need to. Those are what societal needs are right now.
We've had a lot of very deep dialogues and discussions about the best way to move forward on the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan. And he's always there to listen, and he always follows up and, you know, goes to the nth degree to really work things out.
He really was always interested in seeking that balance between development as well as the other amenities and aspects that make a community healthy, that make a community attractive for its residents.
I ran into a friend of yours back in D.C., Gino, and the only thing he said leaving is that we know where you live.
I'm taking a big chance right here. This is top secret stuff, but I gotta tell you right off the bat, yes, you need to retire. That's number one. Number two, yes, I need to retire. Number three, get rid of that land next to DM. We need to make some money off of that. So if you could, use all your influence in your last few days to help us out here, and I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Ciao.
You have touched so many lives across the state of Arizona, both by administering the API program, where you have helped save $440 million worth of open space, and through your efforts as a planner, where you've not only been a hands-on planner in Pima County and across the state, but also a leader in thought in developing policy where comprehensive and general plans have been improved because you've suggested new elements.
He's able to figure out where those paths of commonality are and bring it forward. And it's really unique and fun to watch and fun to work with.
If you're not an egotist, then you can be, it's very easy to be a team player. And Arlan is not an egotist. You know, he actually looks at the whole thing and he thinks, how can we get it done? And he doesn't have to be in the front.
I found Arlan to be a very accessible person, especially someone who, like myself and others, who have chosen to work from the outside in as activists and advocates for change.
He leaves people with a sense of things are okay and they're going to be better. When you talk about leaving things in a better place or better shape than when you arrived, Arlan has truly done that, and he's been a great friend and a mentor and a colleague, and I'm thankful for having the opportunity to have interacted with him over these years.